In this brief period where we have no new Star Wars games to play, everything's a little quiet at the moment, there are always murmurings, whispers, if you will, of new Star Wars games being developed by the scenes that are yet to be announced. We've known for 2 years that we're getting a new LEGO Star Wars, hopefully sometime real soon. Come on, let's get the ball rolling on this thing. That we're getting an open world Star Wars game in 3 or 4 years' time. It'll be a while off yet. Gonna make the Avatar one first. That there's a Jedi Fallen Order 2 in development. Finally, Cal Kestis will be stabbed. That there's a Knights of the Old Republic remake, and that there's Star Wars Hunters, the game from mobile developer Zynga. For some reason, they're making some other kind of game like this. I don't know. No one knows what it's going to be yet. So these are all the games we currently know of, but surely there are more, right? Star Wars is too big. Of course there are more. And that's what today's video is about. Well, at least 1 or 2 more potential Star Wars games anyway that are possibly in development and will possibly be revealed at EA Play Live in a couple weeks' time. The Star Wars Squadrons developers over at EA Motive seem to be working on a few new games which will reportedly make people happy. So I collected as much info on this as possible, and here we go. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. So recently there was a report that EA Motive are currently working on reviving an established IP. An established IP is a game series or game that was made before but is no longer being made. Like my childhood favorite game Croc, Legend of the Gobbos, that's an IP. The Die Hard movies, also an IP. Star Wars is an IP. IP stands for intellectual property. Anyway, you kids can look that up in your own time. So what's happening is Motive are taking a game that already exists and either remaking or reviving it. And it's likely an old EA game, seeing as though Motive are an EA studio. EA have probably asked them to revive an old game they think will sell now, today. People will buy it today. So does this mean it could be an old EA Star Wars game, one that was made before their deal with Disney? Well, not exactly. Star Wars itself is an IP, so unless they're reviving an IP of an IP, like Battlefront 2 is a Star Wars IP, and Star Wars is the IP itself, kind of anyway, it's more of a trademark, I guess. But let's go back into the EA vault and see what Star Wars games were made before the Disney deal. Well, there's really only one, The Old Republic, released in 2011, and The Old Republic still has a super active player base and is receiving more updates, so this isn't the revival. Old Republic is developed by BioWare, who back in 2003 also created Knights of the Old Republic, but that was before BioWare was an EA studio, and we already know about the Knights of the Old Republic remake being developed by Aspyr Media, so EA have nothing to do with this. As that's the case, then what are EA Motive up to? What are they working on following the release of Star Wars Squadrons? Well, I'll get to talking about the revived IP in a minute, but a few months ago there was a leak through a job listing on EA's website confirming that Motive are in fact working on a new Star Wars game. But no, that was a human error, unfortunately. The leak was an error. There is no new Star Wars game at Motive, and they confirmed that themselves with a Twitter post saying the job listing they posted was an error. It wasn't supposed to include anything about Star Wars and was probably just some sort of copy and paste. You know, you put this as the job listing, and it's an error on EA's end. So no new Star Wars game from Motive. That's what they're saying anyway, unless they're just trying to throw us off the scent. They're working on something secretly. I think it's still very possible that Motive could be working on something Star Wars related behind the scenes, considering their recent experience with the franchise. Motive has pretty decent experience working on Star Wars games now that they've developed Battlefront 2 story mode and Star Wars Squadrons, so hopefully whatever they put out next will raise the bar. It's possible that Lucasfilm want to keep all of these projects on the super low down, and even an accidental leak like the job listing needs to be squashed immediately. So perhaps Lucasfilm Games just aren't ready to say Motive are working on a new Star Wars game and want them to deny any involvement in a new Star Wars project. Totally speculative, but it would make sense for Motive to be working on a new Star Wars game considering the classic double down comment, EA doubling down on Star Wars games, which we're still yet to see the results of. They've got the experience to do it, they've surely got the resources to do it, and the double down. So just a little side note here, you know what we need at EA Play Live? A series of announcements like that Disney stream with Kathleen Kennedy dropping like 10 new Star Wars shows and titles in development. This is what we need for Star Wars games. A roadmap of the way forward, the number of games, what each of them are, and at least some rough idea of when they'd be releasing. You imagine just EA suddenly announces 5 to 10 new Star Wars games on the same day, releasing over the next few years. Man, yes please. Alright, so what is this IP revival Motive are working on? If it's not a Star Wars game, what are they actually doing? Well, the leak came from Jeff Grubb, the GamesBeat journalist who's James previously revealed and leaked lots of gaming news, and during his podcast, he stated that EA Motive are working on reviving an established IP, and we're going to see it if we're not dead first. Well, that's interesting. Well, this statement has led a lot of people to believe that Motive are working on a Dead Space revival. Dead Space is a sci-fi horror series developed between 2008 and 2013 by EA Visceral. There were 3 games, Dead Space 1, 2, and 3, and Visceral was the same studio which built Project Ragtag before it was cancelled and the studio itself was shut down, doesn't exist anymore. So the Dead Space games were single-player third-person story games. A lot of people say they are underappreciated classics, masterpieces, and there have been a lot of reports that EA are looking at investing into more single-player experiences and games following the unprecedented success of Jedi Fallen Order. One of their best-selling games in recent years is a single-player story action adventure game. So the Dead Space games are also inspired by elements of the Resident Evil series, which as far as I know are more popular than ever right now. So EA are aware of this and want to start reinvesting in a horror-themed series, and that's why people think this is all going to be about Dead Space. That's the revival. So great news for sci-fi horror fans. Although that said, recently strange things have been happening behind the scenes in Motive. Dark things have been... No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I got a little dark there, but they have had a bit of a change in direction, and that could be because they're working on a secret project. Star Wars, maybe. Hopefully. Motive were working on a game codenamed Project GAIA, which was actually teased at EA Play Live last year. This here is some brief early footage. This was a game they were working on for 6 years. A new IP, and EA cancelled it earlier this year. I'm hoping so Motive could focus more of their resources on new games. New Star Wars game potentially, along with Dead Space, if the IP revival is in fact Dead Space. But how can a game be cancelled after 6 years in development? I mean, it must have hit some sort of roadblock. There are stories it went through a lot of revisions and changes and management changes, and so much got in the way of it. Battlefront 2 story mode development, a lot, and I assume it failed to meet several production deadlines. So what happens to all the assets and work spent developing this game? Is it just experience gained? I mean, you don't start building a skyscraper and halfway through be like, no, actually, sorry, we're canceling this building's development. We're just going to leave the building there. This actually has happened though. There are buildings which have just run out of budget. They don't have any more money, so the skyscraper's just standing there half built. But apparently the development of this game was only possible through next-gen technology, so I don't know what's happening with that. Hopefully they're transitioning a lot of the stuff they learnt and created from this game into new games. Hopefully a new Star Wars game. Shh. They don't want us to know. Around the time Star Wars Squadrons released, Motive's general manager put out a few statements talking about the studio's goals with future projects, which give us a bit of an idea of what they're focused on developing. In addition to Star Wars Squadrons, we're also working on several unannounced projects. Innovation is tough, but it's also exciting and energizing. With our new mission, we're trying a lot of things and testing many ideas which you can't get attached to, as iteration and experimentation are healthy and key to finding something great. I mean, we all hope some of this has something to do with some kind of new Star Wars project, right? There are so many words here that just get tossed around: vision, iteration, experimentation, all that stuff. All of it. The team is super talented, and we're all striving to make aspirational games that push the boundaries of what players expect now and into the future. I really think we'll be seeing so much this year at EA Play Live. EA games in general feel like they're on the lowdown right now. Not a lot of noise happening in EA's corner at the moment. And like I've said in my past few videos talking about this, I think this is the calm before the storm. I think EA are getting ready to make some massive announcements at their EA Play Live event. And that's part of the reason they're holding it more than a month after E3. They want to distance themselves from any other games being released or announced to create as much hype around their games as possible. So with all that said, do you think Motive are still secretly working on a new Star Wars game, something they just can't talk about and have to deny at the moment? And do you think the revived IP will be Dead Space or something else you want to see? Let me know in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. And for more on the latest in Star Wars and Star Wars game, you can watch one of these videos here and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and join my Discord. Come join the community, more up-to-date updates and everything you want and need. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.
Stay bombastic.